At the close of May, the Western Pacific found itself under an unusual amount of military scrutiny. In a powerful demonstration of capability and intent, China and the United States each deployed 2 aircraft carriers, accompanied by hundreds of warships, into the maritime corridors spanning the Taiwan Strait, South China Sea, and waters near Okinawa. While public messaging framed these movements as routine exercises, the scale and symbolism suggest a rehearsal for something far more consequential. On the Chinese side, the People's Liberation Army Navy, PLAN, launched a coordinated display of power. Over 70 naval vessels were mobilized within a week, 3/4 of which were primary combat ships. Central to this show of force were China's 2 most operational aircraft carriers, the Liaoning and the Shandong. The Liaoning took position near Okinawa, anchoring roughly 240 kilometers north of Kyushu's Jiuchang Island. This strategic location gave a dual influence, obstructing traditional U.S. and Japanese naval pathways into the Taiwan Strait from the east, and projecting power over Taiwan's eastern approaches. Supporting the Liaoning were 2 Type 055 destroyers, each displacing over 12,000 tons and armed with YJ-21 hypersonic missiles, along with 4 advanced 052D guided missile destroyers and other escort vessels. In just 2 days, the carrier completed a high-frequency launch cycle of 120 J-15 carrier-borne fighter jets. Simultaneously, the Shandong departed from Sanya, Hainan, conducting operations in the South China Sea. Utilizing intelligence from fortified island outposts such as the Banyan Reef, it patrolled the Bashi Channel, an essential passage controlling northern access routes toward the Taiwan Strait. With the PLA Rocket Force's 4,000-kilometer range DF-26 carrier killer missiles providing strategic cover, U.S. naval forces found themselves compelled to maneuver at a cautious distance. Adding further pressure was the deployment of the Anhui, a 075 class amphibious assault ship. Positioned in the waters east of Taiwan, it formed a tri-pronged maritime formation with the Liaoning and Shandong, for the first time constructing an iron triangle offensive posture on both flanks of the Taiwan Strait and the northern South China Sea. In response, the United States Navy dispatched 2 of its own aircraft carriers, the USS Nimitz and the USS George Washington. Yet despite their symbolic weight, both ships revealed the underlying strain on American naval readiness. The USS Nimitz, now marking its 50th year in service, was originally scheduled for retirement. Its presence near the South China Sea resembled a swan song, a final act of projection. Its F/A-18 fighter jets, some of which entered service decades ago, are increasingly outmatched by the PLA's newer air-to-air missile systems such as the PL-15 and PL-17. The aging radar systems aboard the Nimitz contrast starkly with China's expanding aerial dominance in contested regions. The USS George Washington, recently reactivated from a prolonged maintenance cycle, was dispatched without a fully assembled air wing. Nonetheless, it sailed toward the Philippine Sea, attempting to assert influence amid growing regional uncertainty. As a permanent fixture of the U.S. 7th Fleet, its redeployment signaled Washington's intent to reaffirm its presence in the region, despite logistical constraints, including an overstretched supply chain and the vulnerability of Guam's base infrastructure under DF-26 missile threat. Perhaps most telling were the simulated warfighting results within the Pentagon's own modeling. Facing coordinated strikes from PLA early warning systems and long-range missiles, American carriers showed a survival probability below 30% in high-intensity conflict scenarios. The challenge extended beyond physical force to the electromagnetic battlefield. Japanese F-35s conducting reconnaissance were intercepted and locked onto by Chinese systems, revealing critical gaps in Allied intelligence integration and situational awareness. Analysts now interpret this maritime choreography not as mere drills, but as a strategic preview. China's twin carrier groups have for the first time projected force outward, beyond the traditional confines of its coastlines, raising questions about future military posturing and political resolve. In practical terms, the Liaoning has the capacity to sever any eastward evacuation or reinforcement routes for pro-independence forces in Taiwan. The Shandong, meanwhile, controls the southern approaches, effectively encircling the island. Backed by hypersonic missile platforms, destroyer escorts, and next-generation strike aircraft, these carrier battle groups can achieve air superiority over the Taiwan Strait in a matter of hours. If U.S. carriers are pushed 800 kilometers back, their capacity to provide effective deterrence or defense diminishes significantly. This standoff marks the largest carrier confrontation in the Asia-Pacific since the Cold War. But it is not merely about numerical parity in hardware. It is a clash of operational systems, of intelligence networks, and of military ecosystems. As Plan Political Commissar Yuan Huaji stated, China is no longer constrained by technological bottlenecks. Its fourth aircraft carrier, the Fujian, outfitted with an electromagnetic catapult system, is nearing deployment. A fifth and sixth carrier are in development, potentially nuclear-powered and paired with sixth-generation fighter jets and advanced submarines by 2030. This multi-theater capability would give China the reach to project force globally, not just within its near seas. The message is clear. China intends to push the strategic boundary outward, turning defensive lines into forward operating zones. For Washington, the warning signs are equally apparent. Its edge in global carrier numbers means little if only a fraction are operational or survivable in near-peer engagements. As U.S. naval power struggles to maintain dominance within the first island chain, the credibility of its Indo-Pacific commitments faces a critical test. Ultimately, this confrontation is more than a military spectacle. It is a stress test of doctrines, capabilities, and willpower. As carrier groups square off, the real contest lies beneath the waves and above the stratosphere, in the silent races for information dominance, integrated warfare, and rapid long-range strike capability. The future of the Indo-Pacific may well be decided not by who fires first, but by who sees first, adapts faster, and strikes more precisely. And while this encounter concluded without conflict, it may not remain so indefinitely. With rising nationalist sentiment, advanced weapon systems nearing deployment, and geopolitical lines hardening, this four-carrier standoff may be remembered as the calm before a far more decisive storm.